What is up, everybody? Welcome to Bourbon Player 1. Sorry, a little delayed on getting it recorded. Holidays, all that stuff. But wanted to get an episode out to you this Monday. And moving forward, you can really count on an episode every Monday as we move into the future. Tonight, we're joined by Scott. So, welcome, Scott.
Hi, happy 4th of July weekend.
4th of July Eve, right? It's the 3rd.
Beginning of week. I don't know that you can call it a weekend.
It's one of the two.
Right.
Either way, just like you guys learned last week, these are going to be short, sweet, and to the point. We're going to talk about some mainstream stuff that's going on. Gaming, mainstream, anime, games, whatever you want to have. So, that being said, we're going to start things off with some bourbon tonight, as we always do. What are we pouring tonight, Scott?
So recently re-released would be the Maker's Mark Cask Strength, Maker's Mark 46 Cask Strength. So, if you have seen these in the past on the shelf in the last couple of years, you may have recognized it in more of like the oval shaped bottles that you would see with like the private selects. So they've returned to the roots with this, with the classic design, red label on the front of it. Apparently these are going to be released multiple times per year in different proof points.
Oh, cool.
So this one is actually released at a cask strength of 110.1 proof.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to lie to anybody watching. We've clearly drank a lot of this already, and this is not the only bottle that we have. So it should not be a shock that we enjoy it. But I promise eventually we will do some fresh cracks, and we might not like things. But right now, we like it. So we're going to talk more about where you can go get a bottle of it and drink it. So that's all about it.
All right.
Talk to me a little bit about what you get on. Scott, you drink more of it than I have.
Sure. So first things first, Maker's Mark is predominantly a wheated bourbon. So they use a mash bill of corn, wheat, and malted barley, I believe. I think they leave the rye out of it. So it gives it a little bit of softer, sweeter approach to it, which is very easy for your novice drinkers.
Sure.
People getting into bourbon, wanting to try new things. Maker's Mark is a very easy jumping off point. This is their cask strength, so it's going to be a little bit more abrasive. But with the 46 recipe, it's predominantly French oak staves that they use. So it adds a little bit more of a sweetness to it. So sweet, spicy is what I get on the palate on this. As far as the nose, my nose is broken, so I really don't pick up a lot of things. I really get it on the palate more than I do the nose.
It's just about drinking it, right? That's what we're all here for, is just the drinking.
Yep.
So now, what would you say about somebody, and I know you're going to take a sip after you nose it, but someone who enjoys Maker's Mark, just goes to the store, buys Maker's Mark, big drip on the top of it with the red. They see this one on the shelf next to their favorite Maker's Mark. What would you say to that person about buying this one instead of the normal one they enjoy?
If they're a typical makers and they've never had anything before, I don't know that I would dive directly into this one. There are different expressions within Maker's Mark that are easier to graduate into to get up to the higher cask strength ones. So you've got, if you're a big Maker's fan, I would say the next step up would be Maker's 46. So it's the same proof point as regular Maker's, but it's going to be with the French oak staves, which is going to give a little bit more of a sweetness on the palate, on the profile. Once you get out of that, the next step up, I believe, would be going into maybe a Maker's 101. Okay. So it's a little higher proof. It's a little over 100 proof. You're getting that same Maker's profile at a higher proof. Once you've gotten out of there, then I think your next step would be this one here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Guys, we could talk about bourbon all day, but like I promised you, we're going to keep these short and sweet. So what we're going to dive into right now is we're going to get into just happened in pop culture. Money in the Bank 2023. It's a huge WWE pay-per-view. If you don't watch wrestling, why? It's awesome. It's the equivalent of a male soap opera. If you do watch wrestling, then you know what I'm talking about, and you tune into the right thing for us to talk about it. So, all that being said, we're going to get right into that. We're going to do a slide. We're going to look at the matches, and we're going to talk a little bit about them briefly, real quick here to get through all of it for you. Before we do all that, have to add in here, please make sure if you don't already, you're going to see it pop up right here. Subscribe. Click that little bell right there so you have notifications and you know when we put out new content. Again, every Monday, but definitely help out the stream. Click that button. We need you. That being said, let's get to the content. All right, so let's look at the match card just a little bit. I got pulled up here, so let me find it. All right, so here is our match card. And we're going to talk through all of this, but I'm just going to really rapid fire through all the matches in no real order, okay? Just so you guys, if you didn't watch it, you know what to expect. And if you did watch it, you definitely know what to expect. So we have the Bloodline Civil War, the Usos versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Unless you've been living under a rock and you watch wrestling, this is the biggest. The Rock, yeah, right. But this is the biggest storyline that's been happening in wrestling for years now. It's
going. Yeah, it's definitely going on a couple of years.
it's getting long in the tooth. Still great. Storyline's really good, but it's definitely coming to an end, and you can tell by the story that they're building right now.
I don't know that it's necessarily coming to an end.
No,
I think under this new leadership that WWE has, I think that the whole the long-term storylines, I think, is going to be something that has been missing for the last 20 to 25 years, and I think it's finally coming back, which is going to allow for these longer title reigns that you're seeing right now.
Yeah. Hold that thought. We're going to get to it, and we want to talk a little bit about that when we get to the section. World Heavyweight Championship match, Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Fergal Devitt. Balor. Yeah. Not the Demon, but spoiler, we'll get to that here in a little bit too. Men's Money in the Bank ladder match, Ricochet versus Santos Escobar versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Butch versus LA Knight versus Damian Priest versus Logan Paul. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, Becky Lynch versus Zelina Vega versus Io Sky versus Bayley versus Zoe Stark versus Trish Stratus. Women's Tag Team Championship, Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler for a unification of the titles from NXT and WWE.
It's already been done.
It's done. Yep. Anyway, enough about that. Spoiler. Intercontinental Championship match, Matt Riddle versus Gunther, whatever. Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio in the most throwaway match possibly on this card. But I didn't say that out loud. Anyway, let's get into the matches. So, first match of the night. Men's Money in the Bank ladder match was our kickoff. So, what did you think about it, Scott?
All right, so I have mixed feelings on Money in the Bank.
Okay.
I think it's a great premium live event, not pay-per-view anymore. It's called PLEs, or premium live events. My feelings of Money in the Bank, while I like the excitement, I feel like, and I will be more prevalent on on the women's side of things than I am on the men's, but I feel like the performers are trying to execute spots than they are to try to create moments and tell a story in the match.
I agree with that. Yes. Absolutely. And I think that's been, not to piggyback on there too much, but I think that's been the problem with a lot of these gimmick matches for a while now.
Right.
Is they're just trying to shock you with all these spots and not just wrestle a match.
There are two spots in this match that I can speak directly to. And there is a spot where Logan Paul had, I can't remember who he had on the ladder, but he did not a frog splash, but jumped off of the ring apron onto the ladder, and the ladder didn't break. So there's spot number one. Spot number two, if you think back to Royal Rumble, Ricochet and Logan Paul had that massive moment where they springboarded off of the ropes and collided in the middle of the ring. Great moment. So they tried to make another moment, springboarding off the ropes and through the tables. Logan Paul just about broke his face.
Yeah, there was definitely some WWE executives that were not happy.
Correct. So, a lot of great talent in there. Did the right person win? For long-term storytelling, I think the right person won.
Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit because I've got some grades here about what Bleacher Report said about it. Obviously, if you don't know, the crowd super behind LA Knight. I mean, biggest pop probably.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of the big pops, but they wanted him to win. He did not. Grades, Bleacher Report gave this an A. They think it was a phenomenal match. They enjoyed it. Just some couple. I'm not going to read all these because we do not have time to read them all. I'll have the link in the comments if you want to go to the article and read it yourselves, everybody. Top moments. Main event level pop for Knight. His charisma is awesome. I'm surprised they didn't pull the trigger on him, but it's okay. The crowd really did not seem to like Jake Paul being in the match.
Logan Paul,
yeah.
Yeah. So they gave it an A. I think it was I wouldn't call it a victim, but I think it is a subject of it being the first match of the night. Crowd is always on fire. It doesn't matter if you're in the O2 Arena in London or if you're in Wichita, Kansas. The first match of the night of a premium live event is always going to get the best crowd of the night.
Yeah, everyone's hot. They're not tired. They're not exhausted.
Exactly. So I think what was portrayed on TV and what actually happened, I don't think I would have given it an A. I think I would have given it probably a B, maybe a B minus, because I think that the talent was good, but I think once again they were working for a spot instead of trying to build, towards the end or toward they weren't building up the match.
Right. I also think that they were just really too heavily focusing on those spots like
Spots,
this. Like
exactly.
it's really heavily focusing on it, and the match is good. But like you said, like first match of the night, the crowd's going to bump that up a whole letter grade probably based off reviews. So
Yep.
it is what it is.
Yep.
Moving on. We got the tag team championship match. Now, before we talk about this match, and I'll go first on this one because I have some thoughts on this. I did want to pause for a second. I want to pull this up. So Ronda Rousey and Zelina Vega decided to do some outfits. As many of you know, WWE wrestlers like doing the pop culture stuff. Seth Rollins is famous for doing a ton of the Marvel villains with his outfits when he comes to the ring. This was no different. We've got Ronda Rousey, who did a little bit of Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. And then we also have Zelina Vega, who decided to go with Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. So love just seeing the outfits. Maybe you missed it. Maybe you didn't. But hey, now you know. And that's what we're here for, is to tell you that kind of stuff. Yep. So to the match. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I did not like the outcome of this match at all. I think it's a little too soon to have Rousey break up with her tag team. I think they're very dominant. I think Shayna, definitely, they had a lot left in the tank as a tag team, and especially as champions. And I think they were just pulling the trigger on them breaking up just for some kind of shock factor. What do you think about that?
My thoughts are there's two pieces of this that got rushed really quickly.
Okay.
Because number one, Liv Morgan is still hurt.
Yes.
She's still hurt. They rushed her back into this match to get the titles off of Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. Number one, it's going to give Liv Morgan a little bit more time to recover. Now, she came in, she did minimal work in this match. But what they did was they kept her out of the match as much as possible. On the other side of it, and I don't know if you guys saw this or not, or when you go back and watch this, you'll see this happen. There was a shocking turn of events when Shayna Baszler turned on her longtime training partner, friend in MMA and pro wrestling. Shayna Baszler actually got Ronda Rousey into professional wrestling and sports entertainment. Turned on her out of the blue.
Yeah.
And I feel like I said, I'm a big fan of the long-term storytelling. We've got SummerSlam coming up here in a month in Detroit, Michigan at the Ford Field. But I feel like this was WWE's chance to start a storyline between Ronda and Shayna to build towards a match between the two of those at SummerSlam, which is the biggest event of the summer. It's going to be a raucous crowd in Detroit. But rumor has it that this could be Ronda Rousey's final match exiting WWE. And she wanted it against somebody that she trusted in that ring, somebody that she could considered a confidant in Shayna Baszler.
And I mean, I'll go back and eat my words if that ends up being the case. If we find out someday down the road that Ronda said, hey, I got one more match in me as a single star. I want it against Shayna because we're friends. So we're going to do this thing. I just think it was a little quick. I think it was felt a little rushed. But again, we don't know what the behind the scenes are. So that's how we're going to move with it. Next up, let's talk a little bit about the Intercontinental Championship match. We won't spend much time on this one because WWE didn't want to spend much time on this one either.
I think Gunther is a bona fide badass.
Yep.
I think Matt Riddle can't get out of his own way when it comes to social media and focusing on his professional career. I love the fact that we had a surprise return in Drew McIntyre at the end of this match. I think that is going to create a hell of a story. Whether that plays out at SummerSlam or not, I don't know. But, I think that, that's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah.
Basically, it's all you need to know is Gunther's a badass. He won. Drew McIntyre came back, and that's setting up a feud for whether it plays out at SummerSlam or whatever.
Really quick, Gunther, winning WWE Royal Rumble 2024, yes or no?
Who won it? Who won it this year?
It was Cody.
Cody Rhodes won.
Gunther winning next year.
Gunther should have won it.
He should have. Will he win next year, setting up a title shot at Mania?
It depends on how they build him up.
Okay.
He is a boring entertainer.
Yes.
I think the way they portray him with Imperium, they are building him up like an Ivan Drago, if you are familiar with Rocky IV. If you see his entrance, it is very intimidating.
It is.
It is. So this is the throwaway match.
Yeah, I mean, Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio I'm not really sure why we're doing this match of the night, or in the we need to go to the bathroom, and I needed a spot to do that match of the night. Cody Rhodes won, obviously, if you watch wrestling. Again, not really sure why. We're not even going to talk about it.
Well, let's
but
talk
it's-
about it for just a moment.
Okay, what do you want to say about Cody basically destroying Dominic Mysterio?
So in the wrestling industry, there is what's called a popcorn match.
Yes.
I've learned this. I have. I won't say I'm good friends with, but I'm very good acquaintances with a former professional wrestler. His name is Rory McAllister. So he was part of the Highlanders in the WWE. But the purpose of what's considered a popcorn match is this is the match that brings the crowd back down before the main events of the evening, so that they're not tired going into the final matches. So it brings them down so that they can come back up as far as the energy level goes. I think this was what's considered our popcorn match. It told a story of deadbeat dads and whatever, but at the end of the day, I think the story between the two of them, it was very rushed. Just short-term booking, reason to get Cody Rhodes on TV.
Yep.
Keep Dominic Mysterio on TV.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I didn't watch very much of it. I just kind of moved on. So there it is. I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're just going to mention this because it happened. John Cena returned. Obviously, they just want to get him on the card to hype up a WrestleMania over in London.
Yep.
That's why he's there.
Yep.
John Cena is one of the biggest stars in WWE ever. So, if you can get him on the card, I'm sure WWE thought it was a good thing. But yeah, we don't need to talk about it because he just came out, hyped up WrestleMania in London someday, and went back in the back.
Yeah, and it's very the chances of them having a WrestleMania over in London is from what have been reading from the dirt sheets, very far fetched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple more matches. We're gonna fly through these because we are running out of time. Everybody, we've gone long, but that is okay. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. What'd you think about the winner? Were you surprised?
I think it created an opportunity to tell a story within Damage Control.
Okay.
So Io Sky wins. I think that the way she won, I think, was very well done. I think that once again, this match was all about trying to make spots.
Yep. Yeah.
Trying to hit spots. The one specifically outside of the ring, Trish Stratus gets thrown into a ladder, but she does a little cartwheel up into the ladder. So get a chance, go back and watch it. It's really, really funny. Side note, apparently Bailey's part of Judgment Day now.
Yeah,
So,
go watch it. They messed up on announcing.
thanks, Samantha Urban. Good job.
Yeah, definitely setting up stuff for the future. Damage Control, Judgment Day, whatever it might be. It was a fun match, but I mean, B+, they liked it. They didn't hate it.
C-.
Was it the best women's Money in the Bank ladder match ever? Absolutely not.
No.
Was it good? It was fine. It did the job. It got the win that we needed. 2 more matches. So, probably, in my opinion, match of the night.
Okay.
Right here. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Man, these guys, if you haven't watched it or you have a chance to, these guys you can tell need to wrestle each other a lot more. They have chemistry that is just off the charts. And you can tell because they wrestled on the independent scene before this. They've wrestled in NXT. I mean, they've been wrestling each other for a long time. So the fact that they're in the ring together, it definitely makes Finn Balor not look strong by losing, but he put on a great showing, and I think that's really all you were looking for. It's just kind of him to, get out there, look like he could actually have a chance of winning and beating Seth Rollins, and then going back, and probably setting up more storylines with the Judgment Day.
Side note,
Uh-huh.
Finn Balor has always weighed in at 197.
Okay.
He's now 190.
Little
You
thing.
can see it on him. He's definitely
I'll tell you, Finn Balor is ripped.
leaned
Let's just
out.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Seth Rollins won. Still, your WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Will we see Finn Balor against him again? I don't know. Will we see the Demon Maker resurgence soon? I hope so.
I think the story of this is Damian Priest coming out toward the end of the match with his Money in the Bank contract.
Yep.
And it ended up distracting Finn Balor as he was on the top of the rope getting ready to hit Seth Rollins with the coup de grace. Distracted him a little bit, gave Seth a chance to recover. 1, 2, 3.
And he won.
And then there was a face-off on the outside of the ring. So is there a dissension amongst the ranks in the Judgment Day?
Probably.
Probably.
Yes. Last match. Bloodline Civil War. Usos versus Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. Take it away, Scott.
I can't speak to this because I didn't watch it because my wife turned the TV off before I got a chance to go back up and watch it.
Molly, if you're watching this, that is okay.
All
We
yours.
do not blame you.
This is all you.
All you. So match, really good. The spots were fine. You could definitely tell they were setting up a lot of tension with Roman Reigns, taking a lot of the, offense from the Usos, getting beaten down a lot. Solo Sikoa trying to get in, and break up stuff. the part that I really want to focus on and spend any time we're going to talk about this match on, the Usos won, and in a shocking twist, Roman Reigns took the pin 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring.
Which is the first time in over 3 years.
Yes.
That he took a pin.
He hasn't been pinned by anybody in 3 years.
Do you know who the last person to pin Roman Reigns was?
Oh, I did, but I can't remember. It was, I don't know, you know.
I kind of wanted to speak to this before we got off of the air here, but Baron Corbin was the last person to pin Roman Reigns over 3 years ago. By the way, if there's any NXT fans out there, what do you think about the change of Baron Corbin going back to the lone wolf character in NXT?
Leave it in the comments below, guys.
Yeah.
Let us know. We'll read them. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
That's all the matches, guys. The overall grade for the show, they gave it an A+. So Bleacher Report, we're really high on this. I'm not that high on this entire pay-per-view. Now, is it good? Were there a lot of great spots? Absolutely. But truthfully, closer to like a B or a B- actually is kind of where I'm putting this pay-per-view.
If you put this event in Wichita, Kansas versus the O2 Arena in London, England, is this an A+? Because the crowd factors into a lot of this show.
It sure does.
The crowd pumps a lot of energy into the show, the performers, and ultimately how it looks on TV.
Yeah.
I if you put this in a random arena, Dayton, Ohio, B-, B-. All I mean, which is still a good.
It is. That's a great pay-per-view. Sometimes WD has C- pay-per-views, so I'll take it.
I put Money in the Bank with the implications of this event and these guaranteed world title reigns, basically. I expect a lot more out of this event.
Same. So that's what we want to talk about, guys. Scott, we have gone super long. We are way past time. We're at 23 minutes, but that's okay. It's just a little bit longer. We're covering a pay-per-view. Final thoughts on Money in the Bank, on your bourbon that is now finished. After you, sir, and then I'll take us away.
So Money in the Bank, gave my final thoughts. Can't wait to see where they go with this. Monday Night Raw tonight starts in about 2 hours. Curious to see how storylines play out.
Yep.
On that. So looking forward to that. Bourbon, final note. Your bottle's not as far down as mine is.
No, but
I'll be picking up a second one.
So buy and back it up, huh?
For sure. Buy and back. You can't use it. Somebody else uses it.
I mean, I can say that. That's just words. He doesn't own that.
Yeah. buy a second bottle.
There you go.
If you see it. At least buy one and hide the second one somewhere in the store. That way, if you like it, you can go back and get it, and you know where it's at.
There you go. My final thoughts, guys. Money in the Bank was a great pay-per-view. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed watching all of it that I could. Getting through the matches. Like Scott said, I think the crowd had a lot to do with it. I think it was a really good show. I have to consider, though, that Money in the Bank, for all intents and purposes, is one of their, high-end, moniker pay-per-views. It's one of their top ones. They bill it as one of the. It's a premier one. Yeah. So I think I expect a little bit more out of it. Was it bad? Absolutely not. Should you watch it if you like wrestling? Absolutely. Maker's 46, definitely a fantastic bottle. I'm glad I picked one up. I'll definitely pick up another one when this one's gone. Just if I can find one. I know where I can find one right now, but who knows what that'll happen when that bottle's gone, because we're drinking mine a lot slower than Scott's bottle.
Sure.
Scott, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. Guys, again, one more time, if you don't yet, click that subscribe button. Hit the bell. We need your follows. It's going to help this get going. It's going to help it be better. Leave a comment below. What would you like to see next week? What do you want to hear about? What's going on in life that you would like to learn more about, or just have us talk about? We're pretty fun. I'll be back next week. I don't know about Scott. Might be somebody else. Who knows? But that's all I got for you all tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bourbon Player 1.